Councilman?
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of this meeting was forwarded to you in the newspaper, posted on the bulletin board and township website on November 3rd, 2022.
Roll call.
Mrs. Green? Here. Mr. Keating?
Here.
Mr. Mark?
Here.
Mayor?
Here. Need a motion to open the first public portion for resolutions and ordinances below.
Make a motion for the first public portion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Jason.
Jason Bryant, 688 Rosemont Avenue. I'm here this evening to talk about this resolution R9823, which is a repeat of a resolution with some modifications that was on your agenda several weeks ago. I assume you'll recall we discussed it.
Yes.
And you had Mr. Finley reach out to me, and I met with him, and I want to thank you and Mr. Finley for taking the time to discuss that matter with me previously. At the time, I presented some concerns that I had regarding the resolution, and the resolution was, I guess, tabled or removed from the meeting several weeks ago, so I'm just curious as to why it's been placed on the agenda again for consideration.
Pat?
So this resolution is basically the gentleman who has that property had made inquiries about it, and through the CRC, he needs to go to the zoning board. He was told he did not, but he does need to go to the zoning board, so we're trying to show through the resolution that his business plan per se is covered under the 2021 ordinances here, but that location that he's looking at will need to go through the zoning board.
Just to clarify, it's out of the zoning board for a use variance. It's not a permitted use within the zone.
Correct.
So it would be, there would have to be an application filed for and communicated by.
Right.
I know the three of us all know what that means, and then a lot of people
Right.
make sure that that's clear.
No, I guess my concern is I don't really understand why the committee would consider supporting something that's not permitted within a township. It's essentially would be against the current ordinances and statutes within the town. So I'm just concerned that the committee would be giving an endorsement to something that is not permitted but would be required to go before the zoning board. So I mean, can you offer any further clarification on that? Or?
No.
No.
I can't offer anything more.
I mean, it seems, highly prejudicial for this body to opine on something that would ultimately, become an application in front of the zoning board, which is a quasi-judicial.
That's what the zoning board does, correct?
Exactly. So I don't understand why the committee would be weighing in on something that...
The committee is confirming that we took formal action previously to permit 4 of the classes of cannabis and to prohibit 2 of them,
Right.
that's a formal action that has occurred. The CRC, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, has changed its regulations and required this action to be taken. I know your point, the resolution specifically calls out the need for a use variance, and just to be clear, this board's not going to hear the use variance, and there's no inclination, no intent, there's no verbiage in here to tell the zoning board what the process is. And again, the application hasn't even been submitted. It would have to be submitted and heard. So there is a distinction, and I understand the point you're making. I just wanted to clarify that once a municipality has permitted any of the classes, that this resolution is necessary for any vendor, any operator, any applicant seeking to do business in that municipality, site specific. And this resolution, as stated, calls out the need for the use variance, saying that they can't proceed. That is an absolute requirement to proceed on that specific location. I see the point.
Yeah, I mean, not to be repetitive, but the ordinance literally in all capital print says supporting the establishment. So, in my mind, I think anybody's mind, if they heard a resolution that said something is supported, then that's an endorsement. So I've never seen a governing body endorse a use in an area where it's not permitted.
I believe we did that on Lake Avenue.
It was a permitted use on Lake Avenue. That's the defining difference here. The gentleman, or this organization, cannot legally operate that use in that zone without going through the proper zoning channels. It's
On the zoning board, correct.
exactly. So this would be no different than if I wanted to put a warehouse in my backyard.
That would be a good idea right now.
Well, that would be like you endorsing me putting a warehouse in my backyard before I ever submitted an application to the zoning board.
I'll be boy, Jason.
So I just think it's in bad form. I don't necessarily disagree with Mr. Lyon's interpretation. When you read the body of the ordinance, it doesn't guarantee anything, but the heading of the ordinance says supporting. And I don't understand if we have a situation where there's something that's not permitted, that organization would not go seek the approvals required and then come before the governing body for the support. It just seems as though this is being done in an incorrect order, cart before the horse, so to speak. So at a minimum, I'd ask you to table it in order for, further review. I forgot to mention, I am a member of the Franklin Township School Board, and I'm not here representing an official position of the board, but I have spoken with several of my colleagues, and everyone is in agreement that this establishment and this location is highly inappropriate. And for the governing body to basically put their seal of endorsement behind it is very concerning to the board. So I'd ask that you can take that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. What are you going to do?
Oh, you know what?
Turn around, you're on
Put
camera.
it on 20 minutes. Barbara Shankalini, this is not a big deal. I would like to know who Universal Grill Company Incorporated is. I looked them up, I couldn't find them. I Googled them, I went on the state website to see if they're an approved.
Now, is that the name of the application?
I thought, is there an application for that property?
Through the state.
Yeah, but I couldn't find it in the state approved.
Doesn't he have a approval or some sort of approval, pending approval or something?
He is a conditional license
Conditional?
from the CRC at using that location, which is 1986 LLC, is the actual name of that property.
What is it?
1986 LLC.
Year I was born. Okay. And that, this is curious. Here's the other thing. I'm also a member of the board, and I'm not here in the capacity of a board member. I'm here as a lifelong resident. And I think Class 2, when the time comes that you can revisit your ordinance to allow a Class 2, I think if you've ever driven up 55 into 42 through Belmar and you get a nice width, that's what, we don't want that in Franklin. We definitely don't want it near the schools. So, you can't control the wind. I understand you can't control that. But it doesn't kind of matter what you make, from my understanding of people who know how to do this. It doesn't really matter what you're making. When you burn it, it smells. When you cook it, it stinks. So that's a big issue with, especially near school areas. So you may want to reconsider the manufacturing piece of this when you're allowed to revisit this ordinance. It's just a thought.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Barbara Doherty, Clearfield Avenue, Franklinville. I have to echo the statements made by Mr. Brandt and Mrs. Chankalini. There's a lot of concerns about the location relative to the school. There are a lot of concerns about the stench involved with the manufacturing of this product. Just because it's allowed by the state doesn't mean that we have to do it. It's not mandated that the municipalities do this yet. It's not mandated yet. Are we still hard up for ratables that this is the kind of business that we want? Does this represent our community values? Somewhere, somebody has to draw the line. I would hope that the members of this board would be part of that, drawing the line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Michelle Cunningham, 84 Stephanie Drive. I am also a Franklin board member here, though, as an individual. Again, want to reiterate the concern with the smell that will come from this manufacturing, not only for Franklin schools, Riddle, but also for Delsey. We have a lot of sports that happen outside. I would ask, or actually question, what would happen if the council does not approve this resolution?
I would say his application wouldn't be passed on, right, Matt?
I mean, he could still apply to the zoning board, but then the CRC would become involved in what they conditionally given him for that application. He's no reason.
Yeah, we can't say with certainty what the CRC would do in the interim. Meaning, there would clearly be a gap between the submission of a zoning board of adjustment application for use variance and the adjudication of that. Could be some time. I have no idea when it would end up on the agenda, and it could take a while to be submitted. So what the State Cannabis Regulatory Commission would do in the interim, I can't hazard. It could be either or.
Right, just curious.
They could freeze it, they could take other action. I really, there's not a lot of precedent in this study. So but it could be either or. It could be, they could rescind it, or they could hold it in abeyance until the zoning board dealt with it.
Okay, thank you. Understand. But with that being said, I think it would send quite a message if the council did say no to this resolution. Thank you.
Good evening. Maria Vitale, 560 Delsey Drive. I'm just a little bit confused because it's always being presented like with remorse, like, this is being given to us, we have to okay it. You don't. I mean, each one of you, when you were yes to this, you're saying, I think this is a great idea and I stand behind it. And you have to live with the consequences of that. Now, you have it within, I believe, 600 feet of Delsey property and just over 1,000 feet from Ritter School. Back in the day, prior, just a few years back, that would be, a controlled substance in a school zone. It's now legal at the state level. It's still illegal at a federal level. Why? Because it's generally a bad idea to have drugs near kids. Now, I'm not saying anything for or against pot by itself, but I'm saying if you approve this, you're actually endorsing it. You're saying this is what we want for Franklin Township. Don't act like someone's forcing you to pass this because nobody is. And if you're counting on the zoning board to put a break to it, I disagree with what other people have said, that this is not an approved use. You passed an ordinance in 2020 approving agriculture in every zone. Every zone, and that's manufacture, packaging, wholesale, retail. All those are approved in every zone of the township by your current ordinance. So I don't know where you're saying it's not an approved use and it has to go before the zoning board to get a use variance. Because as I said, it is an approved use right now. So when you say yes to this resolution, which I'm assuming you will, because it's on the agenda, when you say yes, you're the final stamp. It's not that I can see coming back for a zone use variance. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lyons, but it's agriculture. Growing marijuana is agriculture, and that's the definition of an agricultural use, and that's permitted, including highway commercial. So I would take this vote very seriously because there's no obligation to vote yes. You're not doing it because this is the procedure you go through. The procedure is you take a vote and make a decision based on what you think is in the best interest of the township. And that includes this specific location. So that's what I would say, is, don't come back later and be like, oh, what choice do we have? Because you do. You have a choice right now, and I want to say make the right one.
Thank you.
Hi, Chrissy Ballas, 51 Kirsten Drive. I'm also a Franklin Township board member and a parent with 2 children at Ritter. I just hope that you guys would take into consideration the children in this. I mean, I work locally in Mass in a few places that have these. The smell is horrible. We have patients complain all the time about headaches, migraines. I just think that, you guys should really consider tabling it or just saying no.
Thank you.
Good evening, Barbara Halpern, Harding Highway. The way I read the ordinance, the resolution was, basically you're answering 3 questions. You're not endorsing this, and especially hearing that the town made the mistake of telling this applicant he didn't need a variance, probably quite some time ago, I would assume. If we do deny this application without even knowing exactly what this guy's doing, we on the site plan, we don't even know, we're just all guessing based on 2 words, manufacturing and cultivation, we could probably be sued because we gave the wrong advice and we couldn't answer 3 questions that obviously the answer is yes. So I don't see this as an endorsement on your part. I see it more as going where it should go. It should go before the zoning board, where it can be heard, where issues like odors and other things will factor into whether they would give them that variance. And my reading of the zoning rules would indicate that yes, it needs a variance. It's not strictly agriculture because it's done inside an enclosed building. It's not a greenhouse. It's not it's not a field, so, I don't think they're going to win the argument that they don't need a variance, and I don't think you're actually endorsing it. I think you're covering your butts because they're going to sue. They have a lot of money if they're going into this business. They wouldn't have made it this far, and I think we should put it in the place of the zoning board. I don't think the zoning board is going to be gung-ho to approve this, especially when this many citizens are concerned about odors. And I think as far as the school zone, there's a liquor store across the street from the school, which is much more dangerous than this facility, which no one will be able to get into. But besides that, it's 1,100 feet from the Caroline Ritter School. It's close to 700 feet, as the crow flies, to the curbing at Delsey. So if we're going to have a school zone area where we're not going to allow certain things, we don't need to create such an ordinance, and we need to create a number that sticks, rather than leaving it to be so arbitrary, because if it's capricious and arbitrary, again, we're going to have more legal issues with this as being, what we're really using. So I think we have some homework to do. I think we have responsibility to the applicant, since he didn't start yesterday and I've already started moving those tags, but I don't think you can say no legally to this applicant. And I don't see it as an endorsement. I see it saying, okay, well, these 3 things are true, but you still have these hoops to jump through. And I think that's the way you're looking at it as well. So I think you might look closer at the legal ramifications of not letting them at least go to the zoning board and proceed forward. Thank you. One other thing. Did we hear from the Finance Commission?
I actually talked to Ed Mariento today. We actually sent an email again this afternoon because it's been almost 8 weeks since we sent a reply back to their request of their questions, and we have heard crickets.
Okay, because it was, when I spoke to Ed, it was the 1st or 2nd week in January, and he said he sent it in. So it's been almost the 90 days. We should be hearing within the week.
We sent it out, and actually we're going to try and figure out if there's somebody else we can call or some way we get a better information, because we have done everything they asked us to do with an expediency, and then it goes to them and sits and gets lost.
Well, they do have a 90-day process, so Rhonda Ward is probably working on it. If you can get a hold of Rhonda Ward, it's her case of the Pinelands, and she probably has or is in the process of writing that letter, issuing that approval, and I think you'll get an answer really shortly.
Ed and I have weekly meetings, so it's always the first thing on the agenda. So,
Okay, wonderful. That's great to hear
and
that.
then once we get that back, it has to come to them, we have to get it out to bid.
Right.
And that, and we have until June of 24, but we'd really like to get it in before that.
Oh, I thought we only had a year from the fall of last year.
So the wording we requested is similar to the dam stuff we do. Once we get the approval, we're going to ask for a year from that. Put it in play. Same thing we did with the Frankfurt.
So you haven't actually touched base with Bruce Bethel about getting that additional 6 or 8 months or whatever?
Ed has mentioned it to them.
Okay.
And we were just talking about it today. He said he'd like to have everything in place and all the bids done before the end of the year, so that come spring they can start construction if all the bids.
If the answer is no from the Pinelands, will we punt back to doing the already approved boardwalk?
Yes.
Okay.
That is like hopefully they approve it. If they don't, we'll go back to the original plan and put that after that.
Okay, well, that's really encouraging. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you don't get that time.
Am I allowed to, Tony?
Absolutely not. Just for you.
Two things I'd like you to consider. Just manufacturing is manufacturing. I don't care whether it's, edibles or whatever. Manufacturing is the key word in this ordinance, and I think that's something you have to consider. Second thing is, and I know many of you go past that area at about 2:20, 2:30 in the afternoon after Dulcie lets out. A lot of kids around there, they all go to that little restaurant there, and they all go into the dollar place and stuff. It's packed. A lot of kids not hang out, but go through that area. And the kids, I don't care the distance, I don't care how far it is, manufacturing smells, and it permeates the air. And when you have kids on that Ritter field playing, they've all been on that field at some point. One about you, Jonathan. But there's somebody on that field. I don't know where we grew up, but I'm just saying. So that's the only thing I wanted to kind of say. Don't forget about the amount of kids in that area.
See what happens when you're nice?
Good evening, Nancy Kennedy, 711 St. George Street. And Matt, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm looking at our ordinance 253-96, and it talks about agricultural use. So it does appear as though this applicant, if the Township Committee approves this evening, would not, in fact, have to go in front of the zoning board. And
That's not the opinion of
who's the land use attorney for the township? And he reviewed this ordinance because it's pretty clear on its face that this would be a permitted purpose. I do. And Mr. Burley is a top-notch attorney, but I will very freely admit that even brilliant attorneys can make mistakes. And given the clear language of this ordinance, and certainly those of you up there this evening who are intelligent enough to understand it, I would recommend that you take a look at it, that you perhaps table it for tonight, because if, in fact, Ms. Passaro is correct, if the ordinance on its face is to be believed, which is the ordinance that you passed, then it's not going to have to go in front of zoning. They're not going to get the opportunity to weigh in on it, and you're going to be single-handedly putting marijuana and a very strong odor of it very close to schools. I'm not opposed to marijuana. I love liquor, but I really want it around my kids, two of whom are here this evening. And so for that reason, I would say just use due diligence. What on earth does it hurt to push this off for 2 more weeks and have the opportunity to take a look at it and make an informed decision? It shouldn't fall on all of you if, in fact,
It ain't going to fall on all of you. You might want the opportunity to know that. Table it for tonight. Make the smart call. Thanks. Have a good night.
Steve Spinello, 174 Gallagher Lake Boulevard. Just going home with the idea of being close to these schools. These facilities are required to have some kind of security, right?
Yes.
And armed, right? So that means...
They would have to submit a security plan and all that.
Right, but that also means the idea of these people being armed is that this is a potential threat, right? Why would you put a potential threat like that close to schools? A facility like this should kind of be in the middle of nowhere, especially not near an educational facility. Just my added point on not only the idea of a possible threat.
I'm sorry to come up the second time. The second person comes up, I'm like, this is, you know. This is the park started. The park started. All of these questions are all valid questions, and they would all be borne out at the time that this organization made their application to whether it be the zoning board, planning board, whatever. So that reiterates my point that it's inappropriate for this board to even consider it at this time prior to an application being made where all of these questions can be considered and answered and members of the public will have an opportunity to engage. Thank you.
He did that on purpose.
Look at his shirt, tells us who he is.
Harry Kennedy, 1578 Fresno Road. It's a quandary there, but it's a safety valve also. And it's like having backup when you're a policeman. If Lee's right, you've just given them permission with what is an approved use. And I know that Lee is a former co-attorney and former prosecutor and an excellent attorney. And Mike Burrell is a good attorney without question. He served for a long time on the zoning board. I've seen him in action at the Board of Education, and by the way, it's very nice of all the Board of Education members in an unofficial capacity and former Board of Education members to come out tonight. And I still remember Barbara's speech from the last time she was here, talking about the odor that emanates from those facilities. So it's really a fair, safe choice. You either play it safe, or maybe tabling it at the present time, which avoids litigation for the present moment, I'm sure. You table it for the present time to do a thorough evaluation, to check that excellent attorney Mike Borelli's opinion as to whether or not it's a permitted use and whether it goes before the zoning board. And if you're wrong and you passed it tonight and it didn't have to go to the zoning board, then the onus is on you. And I wouldn't want that onus myself, but that's up to you. You guys have tackled a lot of things that I personally wouldn't tackle, and redevelopment zones and swamps and that sort of thing. But hey, you guys are a lot braver than I am, but I'll do it the smart way tonight. Good luck.
Thank you.
No motion to close first public portion.
Make a motion to close first public portion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve correspondence and reports.
Make a motion to approve the correspondence and reports.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the minutes from March 28th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Mrs. Layton?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. March?
Yes.
Abstain, Bob, I wasn't here.
You were not.
I was not here, that's correct. Can I have a motion to approve the bill list?
Make a motion to approve the bill list.
Sorry.
What?
Mrs. Layton?
Yes.
Mr. March?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the raffle?
Make a motion to approve the raffle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution R9723, authorizing cancellation of outstanding checks from various accounts.
Make a motion for R 9723.
Second.
Mrs. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Mark?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Gurke?
Yes. Resolution 9822 supporting the establishment and operation of a facility for cannabis cultivation and manufacturing on the premises owned at 1986 Dulce Drive, located at 1986 Dulce Drive.
I'd like to make a motion to table R 9823.
Second.
Mrs. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Mark?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Gurke?
Yes. Ordinance, ordinance 0623, creating a position of technical assistant to a construction official. That was just first reading. Didn't say that.
Public hearing.
April 24th. Public hearing will be on April 24th. Can I have a motion to that ordinance?
I'd like to make a motion to introduce, thank you, 0623.
Second.
Mrs. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Mark?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Yes. We have a motion to introduce 0723, ordinance establishing salary wage of municipal officials and employees of the Council of Franklin.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce 0723.
Second.
Mrs. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Mark?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Yes. We have a motion to open the second public portion for any comment.
I'd like to make a motion to open the second public portion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion to close the second public portion.
Make a motion to close the second public portion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports. Nope. John?
Still working on the gap plan. I did want to speak a little bit about tonight. I listen, I have kids in that school, and I agree with a lot of what you guys said. So I think we made the right decision, the right take on that, and we have to look at it. You don't do your homework. You have to do your homework.
To the school plan. Thanks, Mike. Heather?
So I can tell you that I met with the library. Library is struggling, as most of the schools probably are as well too, as far as the increase in utilities. So, can you say something?
No, I was asking.
Oh, okay.
I'm not supposed to see that.
I say everything. So, we really, as a board, need to start to look at, be creative, or do something to help the library so we don't see them take away any programs that they are running on the outside. My main concern, as it always has been the seniors. One of the suggestions that they're kicking around was to implement a few more senior programs, because as they come to the lunch, they have their activity there, but if they could extend that, the new library director was looking into trying to increase some mental health stuff with their Mojang, I believe it is, and other card games to get them involved. But I know that wouldn't be possible unless we start to look at what we can do. And I know there was a consortium prior to that most of us had for all of our buildings, for the municipalities to run through the county, or was it through the Jeff? Either way, we need to try to figure out ways to help that, as well as our own buildings, I believe, because our utilities are up too, right, Mr. Electrician? From what I see on the whole list. Okay, retired.
The pension.
So, we are working with the library. I'm working with the library to try to bring back all this information to everybody. To make what Committee Marsh has said, I have notes and notes on my school papers, because it's just been that kind of day with this, or this resolution. And I have employed from Mr. Lyons today to Mr. Finley, who all have generously given me their time, efforts, and research, and continuing research with their recommendations on what to do. The reason why, instead of making a motion to amend it, to go back to the zoning board, is at this time, my questions are, what direction is the correct direction?
Does it go to code? Does it go to zoning? And make sure that that path is correct. So until that can actually happen, or give us the time to make sure that we're following the correct procedure, we need to go further along. As a phys ed teacher, I cannot imagine going outside every day and having to smell that. Okay? And most of you know I am a teacher, and I am a phys ed teacher, and if it is above 40 degrees, unfortunately for my students, they are outside. I know there's students that go home and they never go back outside. So to have that ability, to have them outside and being able to play without them becoming immune to a smell that I don't want them immune to, I think we need to make sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. And I do believe that everybody involved, Mr. Finley, Mr. Ryans, I really appreciate and thank you for all your efforts on it, that we just got to go back and make sure our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted to get this right. Aside from that, communications meeting tomorrow night, and historical meeting was a few weeks ago, or last Monday. I don't even know. Everything's a blur when you get involved and are trying to figure out everything. But the history, the library book sale is coming up April 22nd, so I'll make sure I'm announcing these things. And I don't know who our officer of the month is because I didn't finish reading that report, so I apologize. I'd like to congratulate Officer Colin Branson for being the Officer of the Month. Thank you. Thanks for picking me up there.
John?
Economic Development Committee did not meet. There was nothing on their agenda, so, and that includes any discussions with this supporting the establishment resolution 1986 Delsey Drive. So I've talked to the chairman and he has not received anything or had any discussions with the individuals at this, to my knowledge, and this wasn't discussed or talked about at Economic Development Committee meetings this year. And then there was nothing on the agenda to discuss, so he canceled the meeting. And then communications is tomorrow night, so if you want to come out, we're working on the website.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to, Matt, 9 o'clock, open again?
Yes, 9 o'clock on Saturday.
I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, offering their opinions. I concur with Ms. Frame that we need more information, make sure the information we got is correct, and we'll make a determination at that point. They got to go through the process, then they got to go through the process, but we'll find that all out. Then come out, support the Halloween kids, everything goes 9 o'clock on Saturday. Golf, I'm not sure if they sold that out here or not.
Yes, I saw that.
No, there's some spots left. They're doing a real good job last year for the first year. So hopefully we can fill that up for them this year. And it was a great day last year. With that said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go now.